Hello, welcome to Good Friday, and thanks ever so much for tuning in to my regular vlog. I've got 3 or 4 things I wanted to talk about this week, and even though I'm not going to be able to try and thread them together into a single story, and I guess that reflects the diversity of the work we do across our organisation and the things that we are working to nurture and the things we're working to improve. So here's a go in a little zigzag through things I wanted to share with you. On the screen, of course, is the front cover of our bi-monthly trust magazine, Trust Matters. Goes from strength to strength, out in the next few days. Do read it. It's one of the ways in which we communicate in the organisation. It isn't all about vlogs or word of mouth. On that front cover, of course, is an image, and that image is taken from the latest of our induction weeks into the community. The colleagues that you saw there are some that I spoke to over the last few days. That they actually met my dog, Darwin, as well. I was really struck by their enthusiasm, their passion, their commitment, and the challenge and curiosity that colleagues were able to bring. As you probably know, we're down to the lowest number of vacancies in our organisation that anyone can find a record of us having. And equally importantly, we're beginning to see a reduction in turnover in our organisation as well. We cannot do anything without people in our organisation. So it's so important that we get those fully staffed teams. And building that culture, nurturing that culture, improving that culture is all of our job. It's part of my job. And it's very much, you'll remember, the role of the Trust People Council. It's now met, I think, 4 times. Membership on the screen, and it's meeting again in the next few days, complete with our staff governors, our volunteer representatives, a variety of trade union and medical staff representatives as well, and crucially, people from our staff network. Now, I'm very conscious that over the last couple of days, we've had a Supreme Court judgment and a great deal of publicity. That judgment certainly confirms that friends and colleagues who are trans have a protected characteristic. And that's very, very important for us to recognise behind the headlines. Of course, the implications of the judgment are something as an organisation we will work through. We will listen to colleagues internally, listen to professionals, listen to folk within our Rainbow Network and people in our community. So let's not rush to assumptions about what the judgment means. Crucially, remembering, and I think Stonewall put a statement out to this effect as well, that the protected characteristic status that is at the heart of equality law is again reconfirmed. So there's an awful lot going on in the world, as I said last week, but here in Ash, we're working to try and make sure we've got those stable and safe teams of people. Of course, part of that, I'm going to try and make a link here to Radar, is making sure that you've done your training. I have done mine, and that we're ready to go in a few days' time with the system. It does mean a big thank you to all those colleagues who are working to look through and, where appropriate, close down incidents from the previous Ulysses system. Now, having had my training, I'm even more excited by the level of data we will all be able to see. Anyone in the organisation will have access to that data at any time. We've got 4,000 pairs of eyes looking at how we are getting on, and that, to me, feels like a very important step. Of course, as Tim reminds me, payday is coming up, and one of the things that payday will mean this time in April is the organisation will move to that real living wage status. I know on behalf of Catherine Avery and the board how important we feel that is for the individuals concerned, but also as part of this institution's deep commitment to do what we can to tackle poverty. Leading staff in our organisation is not just my job, is it? It's the job of all 23 directorates in our organisation. And many of you not be aware that for some of us in the leadership, this year is the Think Directorate year. It's the year in which we begin to normalise working through those directorates rather than through other professional cultures, or simply through our care groups. So do get familiar with which directorate your team is a part of. I hope you already are. And certainly if you work in a backbone or corporate or support function, incredibly important that you are able to relate to our directorates. Of course, we still have, for example, professional advisory groups that bring together people from different disciplines in order to provide specific kinds of advice to the wider leadership. And I'm aware that it is Clinical Administration Professionals Day next Wednesday, and also aware that that PAG, led by Lindsay Fleming, it is really beginning to come into place. That's really important now. We've dealt with some of the banding issues in our organisation, give or take one or two important restructures and reviews that will take place in particular teams during April that are ongoing. So massive shout out and thank you to those people involved as clinical administrative professionals. You heard me mention a couple of weeks ago that there's more investment going in to that grouping to make sure that every senior doctor in this organisation does have the support that this institution has long promised but not always delivered that they will have. Talking of investment, there's a beautiful image on the screen from Scunthorpe. Now, this is the Elizabeth Quarter, where many of our teams will be moving as we build what I like to refer to as the Scunthorpe Triangle. So essentially, the organisation will be based within the town in St Nicholas House, which we've begun to refurbish, in Grey Oaks, which we're due to refurbish, and then in the Elizabeth Quarter. And with what appears to be, touching a lot of wood, slightly more positive news in respect of British Steel, it feels right to be emphasising our ongoing investment and commitment, not just to Scunthorpe, but to the villages and places of North Lincolnshire. There's a little graphic on the screen just giving an illustration of the kind of organisational investments taking place over the last 18 months. And I know we've got a long way to go for some folk, for people to be persuaded that the organisation doesn't presume Doncaster in the way in which it works corporately. But I would hope that there is a feeling that that is beginning to change. And certainly that any idea that North Lincolnshire doesn't belong at the heart of Ardash is quite literally in the past. Of course, we will be doing the annual members meeting in North Lincolnshire on the 19th of July. There is all sorts of fun activities. There is all sorts of opportunities for you to be part of that, either as an exhibitor, as a sports person, as a listener at the annual members meeting, or just having an ice cream with your kids and your nan. So do put that date in the diary and do come along. It's going to be really exciting. It's going to be really important. And it's an opportunity for us to hold ourselves accountable to the people that matter most. And as we move into what I fear might be Easter rain, not bank holiday Monday sunshine, but what better than to look ahead to the middle of July and the celebration of all that's brilliant about Ardash that is our fun day. Thanks for listening. Won't be me next week, so you better tune in.